Hey guys, welcome to Worship Drummer. We are so excited to have Travis Nunn here today. Well, especially when you're going down live, like say you're in a session and it's like, hey, we're going to go down live as a band. We want to get a good band take or whatever.
Yep.
Well, number one, I'm really insecure about studio lingo because these guys are always throwing around like studio lingo.
Yeah.
And I don't speak that language comfortably the way that I would on stage with a band
Yeah.
running songs down for a show. So number one, I'm kind of like, do I know how to communicate with these people?
Right.
Number two, you want to try and I tend to put a ton of pressure on myself. So if you're not a guy who reads charts proficiently, but you have a good memory, it's good to not put pressure on yourself if you don't have to. Like,
Right.
you may not nail it in one take. And what I would always be scared of is, oh no, we're 3 takes in, these guys are all waiting on me, and they think I'm not cutting it. And so then you start piling on all this, I'm not good enough, oh no, I can't relax and do my thing. And 9 times out of 10, it's not the case. Like, they know that that's the case. In a band take, they're really trying to get the rhythm section. That's what they want to get a solid take of.
Yeah.
Guitars and all that other keys and everything, they're going to go back and do most of their magic and overdubs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like walking in, taking a breath, sitting down, and just knowing that they called you to do what you do. Before I joined Tomlin's band, I did quite a bit. I was probably playing in like 10 other bands at one point. And that included, 3 churches that had 4 to 5 different bands for different services per week. So I did that a lot. When I joined Chris, I really didn't have time to do anything else.
Yeah.
However, within the Six Steps record label, which is what Chris is signed to, David Crowder, Matt Redman, I think is still signed to Six Steps, I would get a call to come in and do like a Matt Redman record.
Okay.
Or play on a Christy Nockels record with, Nathan Nockels. And so really I got to do a handful of those kinds of records. And then so maybe I would get to play on about 1 record a year outside of Tomlin or Passion.
Cool.
But recently, as Chris has kind of consolidated his touring into the first of the year and the end of the year and then festivals in the middle, I've gotten to do a few other little projects here and there. So a lot of that is good, because I want to build up my studio chops.
Yeah.
So.
Come on, man. Come on. So I'm assuming then it's safe to say Chris Tomlin's your full-time gig. That's your full-time job, right?
That's my full-time job, yeah.
Awesome. And it's been full-time since you got on board with it, since the beginning?
It's literally since the day after Jesse Reeves, the bass player, called me and said, hey, we have a month worth of dates. You're not going to be home. Can you do it? I said yes. Drove to Austin, got on a plane, and it was full-time for the last 10 years.
Dude, that's nuts. That's wild. You excited to practice?
I love practicing.
Yeah.
I'm in a bit of a weird spot in that I, for the longest time, didn't keep anything musical in my home.
Okay.
Because when I came off the road, I needed to decompress.
Yeah.
But now I really long to practice, and I don't have a practice space at the moment. We have a warehouse that all of our gear is stored in, but it's hard to get up there back and forth. All that to say, yes, I really want to practice just about every other day and have not really had the time to do it.
Oh, that's tough, man.
My wife, I got married about a year ago, and my wife is a cellist who plays in the pop world. And so a lot of times when I'm off the road, she's on tour. And so hop on a tour with her.
Oh,
So
dude, that's awesome, man. How
yeah,
did you guys meet?
we actually met at a passion event. So
Come on.
yeah.
You're pretty irresistible when you're up on stage doing your thing, I guess, huh?
Oh man, she was the one who was irresistible.
Yeah?
I was up there behind the drum set thinking, who is that cellist who's they keep hiring every year to come
Ah,
do this thing? And I'm like, I gotta figure out who that is. Take a deep breath
yeah.
and try to like relax. And you, I think over the years, you start to, when you play enough different sized venues, you start to realize how to put yourself into a dynamic category.
Okay.
So, like, even like a lot of times, if I'm hitting really hard, sometimes too hard, at like a passion event, it's just because it's nerves.
Right.
It's a combination of nerves and adrenaline because I know that there's 10 brand new songs that just got written that I learned the week before.
Yeah.
And Nathan, who's producing it's over here going, just give me lots of energy. And, but, even in an arena, the dynamics isn't, it's not always good to just slam the drums
Right.
because I think you have to be thinking in a lot of different dimensions instead of just right here in front of your instrument.
Hmm.
You have to be thinking, number one, I have however many thousands of watts of PA behind me and other layers of things to
Yeah,
think
yeah.
about, to think, how is this hit going to translate into this size room? And so, over the years, as you play different size venues, you start thinking, oh, I bet this church is probably my drums are going to translate this way. So I kind of hold back a little bit. And
Yeah, yeah.
I remember something Ed Cash mentioned to me in the studio years ago when he was trying to get me to not hit so hard in the studio. And I was like, I don't understand what you're talking about. He was telling me to play with almost like an implied energy,
Huh, okay.
which I still don't fully understand, but it does make sense. It's like play with energy without killing your drum set and hitting so hard that you're choking or overpowering the band.
Right, right.
So I just kind of put it into categories. Arena, hit harder, and play more simply because most of your things that you think are going to sound really good, like the detailed stuff, is not going to translate a lot of times.
Yeah,
Churches
absolutely.
and theaters, you kind of dial it back a little bit more. And then if you're playing a club or a real small thing, dial it back even more,
Yeah.
where that probably your stage volume is going to be overpowering the PA. Yeah, I love a lot of classic rock. I love Zeppelin. I love Pink Floyd. I I love basically most classic rock. I mean,
Yeah.
my goodness, everything from I love the Beatles. I love Zeppelin. I love Creedence Clearwater. I love
Nice.
all that stuff. But I also really, really love '80s pop. So,
Okay.
um, like Tears for Fears is one of my
Yeah, come
favorite
on.
groups. I mean, my goodness, one of my
Yeah.
favorite groups of all time. And then, all the way up into I love '90s. I love '90s rock. Pearl Jam is one of my favorite bands, and Soundgarden is one of my favorite
Oh,
bands because of the drumming. I mean, they had, guys from Matt Cameron to Dave Abruzzi's and, Jack Irons and like all these just great rock drummers in that decade. They really did some cool stuff.
hmm.
Um, but yeah, I would say also Vinny Colaiuta. You know, I love Sting, and Vinny's stuff, his playing is awesome because it's like I'd say he bridges the gap between the far left field, like crazy muso guy stuff,
Yeah.
and he brings it into the mainstream where everybody can absorb it and go, "Oh, Vinny played on that? That's crazy." He
Right,
also
yeah,
played this thing that I don't understand at all, but then he plays like these tracks, so that's really cool.
yeah. Hmm.
Um, but I love early Zeppelin, like Zeppelin 1, 2. Um, most of the, you know, all the early stuff. I forget all the album numbers.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I love almost all the Police recordings. I love Stuart Copeland because it's like, talk about a guy who played with energy, who was
Yeah.
like, oh my goodness, there is no mistaking that that is a human being playing those drum parts,
That's a cool way of putting it, man. Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
with their flaws and their, you know, organic feel and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, that's amazing because I can close my eyes and go, I can picture a human being playing that.